Well, I've only got wee maps to show you, so you might have to gather round a little bit. But okay, I'll just pause briefly to ask you to start observing your surroundings. Think about the sorts of trees you're seeing. But what else are you seeing? There's some there's something interesting here. Paths, good one, yeah. The walls. The walls are really interesting in this wood. As we walk around this wood, you'll see more and more of them. They actually do tell a story. When you combine them with the map evidence, you can start to figure out what's going on. But at first sight, it's really confusing because there are walls with trees either side of them. Walls are usually enclosing something or keeping something out, or both. Okay, so have a think about what might be going on. And we'll carry on. Woodland and farmland sort of interdigitating here. There are strips of fields and strips of wood. Any ideas why that might be? Shelter. Shelter is exactly it. This field apparently is still used for lambing because it's a sheltered field. But we'll start to see that this has relevance for the walls we've been seeing in the wood. Real mixture here, as you've probably noticed. There are a lot of native species, but they've mostly been planted. But a really good thing about this wood is it has great diversity. And with things like tree disease and climate change, that's a good omen for the future, really. It gives it a better chance of surviving. A lot of the species here are typical of what would have been planted in amenity planting in the 1950s. Things like sycamore and beech in particular, and the various conifers that we've seen. So it's not so much a commercial crop, but more of an amenity planting.
What does that mean? Amenity for what?
Amenity to look good, I suppose, and be a good backdrop for the town, be a good place to walk. Yeah,
just to improve the landscape.
Exactly. Yeah. We're at a corner of these walls, okay? Inside the walls is a big rectangular enclosure, which was a field, and it's known as the paddock. Some of you might know that. Outside of the walls, on this side, there's a rather more interesting wood. What's inside that paddock is planted by the Forestry Commission in the 1950s. What's outside it mostly originates rather earlier. We've got lots of multi-stemmed trees all springing from the ground. That's known as coppice. Coppice trees are where you cut a deciduous tree near the ground. It doesn't kill it usually. It will regrow, and that's a coppice tree. Okay, that's usually done for management purposes. Well, in the past it was done with oak especially to grow holes for making charcoal and for stripping bark for tanning for the tanneries. So that sort of industry lasted up to the 19th century. This is a really interesting part of the wood. If you ever want to come back and explore for yourselves, come along, find that corner near the gate and come up through here. There's a wee path that'll take you back down to the bottom wood eventually. But some of our most interesting trees are right along this stretch. There's a real mix of species. There's beech, ash, oak, elm, holly. There are a few others as well, probably. And when you get through here, you'll see that lots of them have got these multiple stems. They have regrown from this earlier plantation. Well, we're going to do some time travel now. You see this compartment that it would have been around an 18th century plantation of trees with a field this side and the trees that side. If you look carefully, you might see some old stumps around. Those stumps are from the previous tree cover. And actually, I've had a close look at them. An awful lot of them are sweet chestnut. There would have been heaps of sweet chestnut in this wood. Absolutely heaps. If you do ever walk down that lower path I just showed you, you'll find some. There's some big sweet chestnut poppers down there. Beautiful trees.
What do they put those in for? Just for prettiness?
I think for prettiness. Whether they used the nuts, I don't know. They might have done.
Up here, they never get to any. You know,
Do they not? Do they not
it's too
mature?
cold.
Every 3 or 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they're not proper big ones like you get abroad, are they?
Yeah. Actually,
Quite tiny, don't they?
you do get chestnut coppice in the south of England.
Well, yeah,
still,
'cause that's-
and it's for fencing mainly,
Right,
for split chestnut fencing. You know that stuff that has wire
yeah,
and
paling.
sticks? Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, that stuff. So it could have been for fencing maybe. I just wanted to point out this feature here. There's a gap in the wall, and that's a real gap, not just that it's fallen down. No, surprisingly, it is a gateway. Okay, so if you care to follow me, you'll be stepping back about 200 years, because this path, the new path, does a diversion, but the old path went through here. Okay? Oh, and I should have said, those two trees are unusual. The trees either side of that gateway are hornbeam.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so, and there's not that much hornbeam in this wood, so they were like markers on the gateway. And they're part of old coppice stools. I don't know if they had our This is one of many trees planted, or should be one of the trees planted by the Forestry Commission in the 1950s. So I would expect it to be no older than 1953. Because I have to core it away a little way up the stem, there'll be a few years missing, because it takes a few years for a little sapling to get up to that height. So we always have to make an adjustment for that as well. The instrument I'm using all packs into that handle. It's called a Swedish increment borer. Okay, it's got a hollow shaft with a screw thread cutting end, and it cuts a sort of pencil-sized piece of wood out of the living tree.
Is it very sharp then?
It's very sharp. You can cut yourself on that quite readily. That fits into the handle like that. This is called the spoon. Okay, and then once the corer is in the tree, this is used to extract the core. Okay, so wish me luck. Hopefully it's going to work out all right.
And does it not damage the tree? Like, could nasty bugs or diseases get into the hole, or will it just seal itself quite quickly because it's quite narrow?
Well, that's a really good question, and there is some debate about that, but this method has been used for over 100 years. Foresters have used it for a long time to get growth rates and things like that. It is used in historic work, as I've explained, for getting reference data and so on. It, in my experience and in my view, it doesn't harm the tree. I've nowhere where I've done it has any problem occurred. However, some people are very cautious about it. I always clean the instruments between sampling sessions, and there's good practice basically that would minimise any harm.
Don't stick a plug in the end when you finish.
No, well actually the foresters advise not to plug the end, because you could be plugging nasties into the tree. And what the tree does with the hole, it sends resins out through the hole and clears itself, and then it grows over. So it's kind of got a self-healing mechanism anyway. All right. we'd normally core at about 1 metre up, I suppose. I would be taking some records for each tree that I sample, its location, its species, its girth, and yeah, that's the main things. I take a photograph usually as well. Is that level?
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah,
Step
down a bit.
down a little
about-
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about level.
It's a pity it's not a maple tree and we could cap it for the maple. Yeah, you're going up at your end.
Oh right, not too bad then. Now if that was oak, I would be really struggling. It takes a lot of oomph to get through oak or other hardwoods.
How far in do you want to go? To the
Well
very
really, I've probably gone more than I need to. I need to get to the middle, just past the centre. Because I need the centre to get the maximum ring count. So what we then do is take the spoon and slide it in under the now almost separated part of the wood that's in the barrel of the corer. That's got teeth on the end of it which grip the inside end of the core. You turn it off for a whole turn. And if you're lucky, you get a sample.
Wow, look at that.
Ooh. Right, so I'm going to hand that to a trusty assistant. Just hold up, keep your finger on that end of it and that end. And then go and show folks if you like. I'm going to take this out because what happens if you just stand around admiring the core you've just taken, the weight of the tree is pressing down and pressing down on the corer. Better to take it out quite quickly. Yeah. I need my specs on for that.
What are all the little black bits then? Is it just sort of...
It's just from the bark, I think, and the moss on the outside. Sometimes if you get a very black, oozy kind of core, that's because there's rot in the tree. But this isn't rotten, it's fine. Gosh, galloping growth rate, big rings. And we have got centre, it's there. I can see it just
How do you know it's
there.
the centre?
There's like the pith from the centre of the tree is there.
Right.
Well,
I suppose you
think.
know exactly
Yeah.
what you're looking for, don't you?
Yeah, but they're big rings. I would say very likely this is going to be about 50, 60 years old, something like that.
So where is it darker there?
That is the sapwood. So you've got the light stuff's the heartwood,
Oh, right.
which is filled up with resins and is not biologically active really. It's just strengthening for the tree. The living part of the tree, where all the fluid and nutrient exchange goes on, is in the sapwood, around the outside of the tree, under the bark. Okay.
Does that vary in width? You know, that's
It does vary in width. It's not very predictable in most species, but a very handy thing about oak, not that we've called oak, but when you're dealing with oak, it has a predictable number of sapwood rings within a certain range. So if you imagine you're sampling timbers in a building, but the edges have been taken off the timbers when they were squared, so you haven't got the bark edge anymore. But if you've got a bit of sapwood left, you can still work out within a reasonably close estimation what the felling date of the timber was. Because in Western Europe, our estimate of sapwood, the number of sapwood rings is 10 to 52, and you can get a bit closer when you know the age of the tree and so on as well. So you can refine it down to about a 50-year, 40-year window. Okay, would anyone like to look at maps?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I'll go and open up the classroom. It's the best bit. The National Library of Scotland.